Hi guys, there are a few other settings about VPC that I want to cover off just before we close out this particular section. So those include DNS resolution, DNS host names, and DHCP option sets. So let's head over to the console. Now in the console, I'm going to come down to your VPCs, select my VPC, and if you click on actions, there's a few options here. So the first one I want to look at is edit DNS host names. So what this does is assigns a DNS hostname to your EC2 instances. I'm going to click on enable and click on save. Now that's already enabled for the default VPC. And what it means is we'll now get a DNS name as well as a public IP address when we create our EC2 instance. And that means we can actually use that from the internet if we like to connect to our instance. Now the other setting in here is DNS resolution. Now by default this is enabled, and it means that the instances you launch into your VPC will use the AWS name servers for DNS resolution. I'll cancel out of there. I'm happy with that as it is. Let's come back to actions, and another option here is DHCP option set. And you'll see we already have an option set specified. Now DHCP is the Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol, and it's a protocol that is used when computers boot to actually obtain an IP address, and then it automatically refreshes the IP address over a period of time. So based on a lease, the IP address gets renewed before the lease expires, and it all happens automatically. So if I cancel out of there, head to DHCP option set, you can see here there's the default option set. And if I click on actions, view details, we can see that this has an ID, it has a domain name specified, and then it uses the domain name servers from Amazon. There's no NTP servers, there's no NetBIOS name servers or NetBIOS node type. Now if we wanted to, we could come back and create our own DHCP option set. Specify the domain name we want as a suffix for our computers, what name servers we want to use if we don't want to use the Amazon provided name servers. We can specify network time protocol servers, NetBIOS name servers, and choose a NetBIOS node type. So these are options that are available if you need to use them. So now that we've changed the DNS host names configuration setting, let's just have a quick look at what happens when we launch an instance. So I'm going to launch an instance. I'm going to go through the default process that we always do, T2 micro, and let's put it into the custom VPC. I'm going to choose a public subnet, click on next, and let's go through this wizard and then select a security group and just launch this instance. So now we have this new instance here. Let's have a look, and we'll see that it has a public IPv4 DNS. So that means that that public IPv4 DNS will correspond to the public IPv4 address. So we can use either the DNS address or the public IP address to connect to this instance over the internet. Now, as you can see, it also has an internal DNS name, and this is what we saw in the DHCP options set. So we have a private IP address, and then we have the private IPv4 DNS name. So internally, we can use this address, or we can use this address when we want to connect to our instance internally. And then we can use either the IP or the DNS to connect publicly using one of these two addresses. So that's how that works. Just wanted to show you that quickly. We're going to terminate this instance. We don't need it anymore. And that's it for this lesson. I'll see you in the next lesson.